All right, so we did a Today in History last week about How Do I Live with Trisha Yearwood and Leanne Rhymes. This week we have another pretty interesting story, Jim, and it involves two country stars and a horse. What the hell happened here?
Yeah, man, this is the horse incident. This is June 3rd, 2000. So we're 21 years removed from this thing, and it's like this is a good story. It's got a lot of ins and outs. First, let me preface it by saying, let me set the stage, I guess, so to speak. In 2000, Tim McGraw is a huge star. He's had multiple number one albums, like 10, 12 number one singles, like I Like It, I Love It, Just to See You Smile, all those.
Already had a greatest hits album that I remember spinning a good bit until the CD was skipping, even in 2000. So
Yeah, he's married to Faith Hill in '96. They are country music's power couple. They've got, I think, two little girls at this time. Their third comes a year or two later. I mean, they really are country music's power couple. This is before Garth and Trisha. I mean, they are dominating the charts, both of them. And, oddly enough, this is kind of the point in country music where it is a female dominated chart. And Tim is kind of the male representative in there, scoring number one hits and number one albums. So my point is, Tim McGraw is a huge star in 2000. On the other hand, Kenny Chesney is not a huge star in 2000. He's had a few number one hits, so I'm not taking that away from him. He hasn't had a number one album yet, but they're just on two different planes, so to speak. Like, they both came out at the same time. They're both buddies. They've known each other for a while. They had lived down the street from each other in like the early 90s. But Tim is up here. And, Kenny is carving out a nice career. But the Kenny Chesney of 2000 is not the Kenny Chesney of 2021. All right, so June 3rd, 2000, Buffalo, New York, the George Strait Country Music Festival at Ralph Wilson Stadium, home of the Buffalo Bills. And this is one of those things that I think happened 10 years too soon. Because if it was like 2010, we'd have cell phone footage, we'd have we'd actually know what happened. But depending on whose kind of side of the story you believe, Kenny and Tim's or the Erie County Sheriff's Department, this is what happened. Kenny sees a horse out there and asks if he can sit on it. Okay, that's the story that both sides agree on. They're in this kind of enclosed parking lot backstage area where the tour buses are and all this other stuff. So Kenny gets permission to get on this horse, and Kenny's from East Tennessee. He knows how to ride a horse. So he doesn't take off, and gallop away like Owen Wilson in Armageddon with everyone after him. He's just kind of like sauntering along. At least, that's some of the eyewitness accounts. And so the sheriff's deputies at this point say, stop, Kenny, you can't do that. That's their side of it. Kenny doesn't hear this. He thinks it's going to be funny to kind of walk backstage in this backstage area where Tim McGraw and Faith Hill are, and I think Martina, and just like a lot of stars. So, you see Kenny Chesney on a horse kind of sauntering in. It's funny, right? That's the whole idea. That's what Kenny thinks. So the sheriff's deputies at this point aren't amused. A couple of them jump into a car and kind of speed off like 100 yards away. One of them gets out and does like a Bo Luke Duke, whatever, Bo Duke.
Some sort of maneuver.
And slide across the hood. And they forcibly rip Kenny off this horse. All right, he lands on his head like Kenny has been dismounted. And his buddy, Tim McGraw, is back there and sees this happening. And Tim says, not on my watch. And Tim's got his tour manager with him as well. So these guys are buddies. He sees, Kenny getting slammed on his head off of a horse, probably has no idea what's going on, runs over there.
I'm sure the horse is freaking out.
Yeah. And for a lack of a better, description, Tim McGraw got involved. One report, or the sheriff's deputies say, Tim puts somebody in a headlock from behind. Whatever. Kenny gets arrested, Tim gets arrested, and Tim's tour manager gets arrested. Now, Kenny is like cited for disorderly conduct and posts like $100 bail, right? No big deal.
Which honestly, if you've seen any footage around the Bills stadium, you know that crazier things happen any given Sunday out there. So $100 bond doesn't really sound too surprising given what went down there.
No, you're right. There's probably people jumping off tables, Bill style, and all that kind of craziness. But now this is where it gets a little serious. Tim is charged with second-degree assault, menacing, resisting arrest, and obstruction of like government administration. So his bail is like $2,500, which they've got the money. Whatever, that's not a big deal. But like Tim is actually facing some serious charges, and his road manager gets some of the same charges as Tim, but not the second-degree assault. Okay, so this thing makes national news. Obviously, it's on the cover of the New York Post. U.S. Weekly picks it up. People Magazine picks it up. And then Kenny, like the next week, makes his first appearance on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. So, like, this is putting Kenny in kind of a, I mean, it's I guess it's good for Kenny's career, really. What is it? No publicity is bad publicity. So Kenny is just like, all right, you're going to put me on the cover of all this stuff? Here I go. And Kenny starts to kind of like take off, like career-wise. His trajectory kind of skyrockets. Well, poor Tim, who is like the biggest star, at least one of the biggest male stars at this time, this hangs over his head for, I think it's like 10 or 11 months. And the guys refuse to settle. Like, they will not. I think there was some back and forth. Like, they were going to throw Kenny's out. And they tried to get Tim to admit some wrongdoing for some lesser charges. But both these guys, stuck to their guns and like, we didn't do anything wrong. Kenny may have stolen a horse, but both sides at least agreed that Kenny had permission to get on the horse. So he didn't steal it. So this goes on for 10 and 11 months. They go to trial. At this point, I think if like Tim is convicted of all of his charges, he faces like a year in jail. And I think Kenny faces like 10 or 15 days. Both guys take the stand. It's a jury trial. The jury deliberates for like 2 hours and they come back and it's like, bam, completely exonerated. Again, this makes national news. There's like footage of Faith in the first row, kind of like crying tears of joy. But, this hung over their heads for almost a year. But, they come out of it smelling like roses because they stuck to their guns. They said, we didn't do anything wrong. And then a jury of their peers, agrees with them. So Kenny's career takes off after this. He releases that like 2000 Greatest Hits album. It goes #1. His next album, the No Shoes, No Shirt album, goes #1. Tim and Kenny go on tour together. Kenny's now opening for Tim. And, bang, here we are 21 years later. And both of them are top 20 best-selling country artists of all time. Both superstars, just, But this is just one of those strange footnotes that, man, if this had happened in 2010 and we had some cell phone footage of Kenny, galloping away on a horse or sauntering or whatever it was, walking the horse, this would be like the most viewed YouTube clip in history.
Yeah, it is like an in-between time, especially for country music. Like, if we'd heard this story by word of mouth about Willie Nelson and Waylon, no one would be surprised. Probably wouldn't have really turned into anything other than an awesome story. 2010 and beyond, it's a viral video still to this day. But in between there, it's just this awkward time where we don't really know what to do with it. And it's crazy now this happened 21 years ago, and both guys' careers have flourished.
Yeah, and the big takeaway from this is, man, Tim McGraw is a guy that you want on your team, on your side as a friend, because he saw his buddy.
Yeah, he had his back.
He got his back, and that's why I like Tim McGraw. Tim McGraw, you can talk to him about anything: history, books, politics, music, sports, all that stuff. But man, he is That's a friend move right there.
Yeah, not surprising in country music, not surprising in Buffalo, and just a wild turn of events. Appreciate it, Jim.
Yeah, buddy. Talk to you soon.